Welcome back, students. Today we are going to continue the previous concept, that is NLP, and today we are going to see in detail about the components of NLP. Well, in the previous session we have discussed about the components of NLP, which I said that it is broadly divided into two types, which is natural language understanding and also natural language generation. And I said you that how this process actually performs there. But now today we are going to discuss this, that in natural language understanding, how deeply the process actually performs here. So here is what the pipeline for building an NLP. Uh, in order to understand a machine, what the steps that will be followed here. So there are various steps by which it follows, that are tokenization is there. Okay, so here we will be seeing about all of these steps. So what is that? We are seeing tokenization, stemming, lemmatization, POS tags, that is parts of speech tags, name entity recognition, and chunking. So we will be understanding with an example that how it actually works here. Because for example, if we as a human, whenever we used to communicate with an NLP enabled machine, so in that sense, like the machine has to understand our language. I mean, the machine has to understand our natural language. So this is how the process, because we may speak in a way where it is somewhat difficult for machine to understand. In order to simplify what we have given as an input to machine, so this process helps the machines to get understand the input what a user or what a human is actually wants from a machine. So here is the process. So in the very first process, you can see tokenization. That means whenever we used to give a sentences, a big sentences, so it is quite difficult for a machine to understand. So what it does is it performs tokenization process. What is tokenization process? Whenever we used to speak as in a big sentences, whenever we use give as a big sentences, so simply what it does is it cut the given big sentences into small tokens. So small tokens in the sense, for example, I'm taking one example, a simple sentence I have taken, which is something today is Wednesday I have taken. Now you can find that here, as you know, it is a group of three words. So here it is forms a group of three tokens where today is one token, is one token, and Wednesday is one token. So in that sense, what happens, this process actually performs that. So this is first the first process, which is just dividing the sentence into a group of words, or you can say it's into a group of small tokens. So next comes to the next process, that is stemming. We have divided it. Okay, but the thing is that sometimes the words, it will not be a root word. So what we have to do is we have to get the root word for the given words. For example, if you observe this, we have many words are there, like celebrates are there, celebrated are there, or celebrating are there. Something, it will be in different forms are there. So such words, what we need to do is we need to just simplify the given set of words or any kind of words by a given root word. Something you can take as, for this example, as celebrate. So like that, stemming is how the process just we stemming is something we are removing. Okay, so we are removing some letters from the given word. Something either you are removing from affix or suffix. So like that it is. So something here, what we are doing in celebrates, we are removing s. In celebrated, it is removing d, and it celebrate, it is removing ing. So in that sense, what happens, it removes and it updates accordingly. But the problem in this one is, of course, what happens in stemming the process is it just simplifies, I mean, it normalizes the words into its base or root forms. But what actually the problem lies here is, for example, like if you consider this example, like we have a playing as an example. So for playing, the root word will be play. That is correct, right? Because by removing ing here, because what the problem, I'll say you now. Next comes to the example of news. What happens, news is a separate word. Okay, is a specific word only. But if sometimes if machine doesn't know, because we as a human can understand, but we are making the machines to do the task. So what happens is, Instead of taking news, it will remove s and it becomes new. So you can observe this news and new are totally different two words. So just by removing s, the news has been changed to new. So this is the problem in stemming. That means it stems, but it won't recognize. I mean, if the sentences, if the words get changed also, so what happens because of that? Complete meaning get changed, right? You can understand here whenever we are saying anything regarding news, but if it assumes as a new, as a word called new, then that will be a problem, right? So this is the problem of stemming. That means what is the problem is it produces the root word, but sometimes like here when it produces the root word, it doesn't have any sense with the original word, because new is nowhere related with news. So both are different words. Whereas if you go with play and playing, both are related words. Of course you can find that play is what, a root word. So in that sense the problem arises in stemming. So because of that we are using lemmatization process. So this lemmatization process is actually similar to the process called stemming. Okay, so why? Because what happens, why we are using this lemmatization? Because of course the problem, of course it is very similar to stemming, but it overcomes the limitations of stemming. Okay, so if you see the example here, what happened is if I take a word called caring, if I just remove in with respect to stemming, I'm saying first, if I take caring, what stemming will do, it just remove ing. So you can observe that as I have removed ing, that means here caring is there and it becomes as car. Now car and caring are two separate words. This is how the problem of stemming. So in that sense what happens is, in this lemmatization process, caring actually do for care. Okay, so you can observe that it removes ing and it takes care here. Okay, so that care is there here in lemmatization process, and in stemming process it is like it is not overcoming the problem here. Okay, so that's why the main thing of lemmatization is whenever you get an output of lemmatization, you will get the exact proper word. I mean, you will get the exact root word for the given word. That is what the advantage of using lemmatization over stemming. Now the next thing is about POS tags. I refer, POS means parts of speech tags. That means a sentence is of something, it includes different parts of speech, right? So you know about this, right? Noun, verb, adverb, or adjective. So what happens is, like whenever if a word is there, because what happens in tokenization, so it performs, it gives us in a token. So that means you are considering words, right? So whenever it indicates that how a word function, okay, that means sometimes a word is there, but because of using that word in a different sentence, that thing will get changed. For example, if I have taken here Google, something on the internet, so you can observe here in the given example that Google is used as a verb. Okay, although it's a noun, because Google is something, a name of a company, so you can say it as a noun, right? So but here what we are using as a verb, as a, okay, because why I'm using as a verb, because it is using Google to perform something on the internet. So now the thing has been changed. So what happens here is that the given words can change. That means a word has one or more parts of speech. So this Google can have more parts of speech, such as it have verb also, it have also proper noun, but it all depends on the sentence, on the context on which it is used. Okay, so that means the machine should understand here. If you will take Google, so you may think that it is a noun, right? But as if we are using, when we are using, on what sentence we are using, that is also plays an important role. In that context also, the POS tags will help the machine to understand, okay, this Google is for used as a verb. Okay, normally it is a proper noun, but it is used as a verb right now. So in that sense this will be helpful. Okay, now the next thing is about name entity recognition. What is this? Actually, it's a process of deducting the named entity. For example, like if we have a sentence, okay, so in that we have to find out what type of entity the words are. I mean, the entity can be a name of a person, the entity can be a name of an organization, The entity can be a location, and it is can be a monetary value or something, you can say any value. For example, if I take this sentence, so what it does is, there is a group of things are there. Okay, so we have to find out what name entity it is. For example, helping hands. So what is this actually? It's an organization, okay, charitable organization, where hanging hands is an organization. Sorry, helping hand is an organization, and Arhan is what? A name of a person name, and Bangalore is what? A location, and this amount, it's just a monetary value. So this has to be understand, because by this the machine actually knows that what is an organization, who is the person, on at which location the person is, and if there are any other values, something called as monetary value. So all of this will give an information to understand what exactly the things are being. Okay, so this is also been important while to understand about the natural language, I mean what the input has been given by a user to an NLP enabled machine. Lastly is the chunking process. So what does this chunking process means? We have collected, we have divided the words, we have taken the sentence has been divided into words, I mean into group of tokens, and the things has been, I mean, after performing lemmatization, okay, and after performing this POS tags and all thing, whatever the outputs I mean the machine gets is actually a meaningful information. Okay, so that meaning information has to be formed, I mean like it is in a isolated way, I mean it will be in divided way, the words are being divided. So the thing is that it has to be get collected. Okay, all the pieces of information has to be collected, I mean they have to be grouped together, so that the sentences, it forms a meaningful sentence. So that meaningful sentence actually give a meaningful information to machine. So that's why this is the last process, which is chunking, where it just simply what it does is it just group the all kind of information which relates with the given context, and that all the words are meaningful information. So finally it will create a sentence, and that is actually as an input for a machine. Now because all of these things has to be undergone with some phases. Okay, so we need to understand that how these phases are works, such as we have morphological and lexical analysis phase. So anyhow we will be seeing all of these phases. So moving going to the next concept, that is phases. In that, whenever we as a user give as an input sentence, okay, because to machine we giving as an input sentence, I mean what you used to speak is actually a sentence. So that is how an input sentence has been given to a machine. So for first process is something morphological processing. So if you go this morphological processing, which is also performs lexical analysis phase, both the process it performs. So what happens is when you give a sentence, so this sentence is something a collection of words and expressions. So that is you can call as a lexicon of a language. So here lexicon of the language will be there. Apart from that, we are using the term called morphological, I mean like morphology. What does this morphology actually means for? It means that it determines analyzing, identifying and description of the words, what this word is used for, what are the words are, what this words let us know. All this kind of information will be provided by morphology. And apart from that, we will be having lexical analysis. So what is lexical analysis? So lexical analysis in the sense it whenever we have a paragraphs are there. Okay, whenever we have a paragraph, so simply divides the paragraph into group of sentences. And also if we have a group of sentences, so that group of sentences will be divides into group of words. So that means it simply it simply takes the text, okay, text which is in group, either in paragraph form, either in sentences form. It will divide into group of words, okay, which are called as lexemes. What it are called as lexemes. So these lexemes are actually a group of words. So first is that needs to understand about the property of words, and then the sentences has been divided into group of lexemes. So that is the first process. So you know what happens of for by this process you will get, you can say that you can perform tokens. Okay, what are these actually tokens, or you can call as lexemes. Okay, so that will be taken as an input for the next phase, which is syntax analysis phase. So syntax analysis phase, and this is parsing. Okay, it's not parsing, it's parsing. So what is this syntax analysis? You can also term this as parsing process. So for every tokens, what we have to do is we have to generate a parse tree. That means it takes the input as tokens or lexemes and it generates parse trees. Okay, we'll be seeing about the parse trees, but this parse trees will be generated with the help of grammar and with the help of lexicon. So we will be discussing on this, about this grammar and about this lexicon. We have said that, as you know, what the words, the sentences, right? This is how the input it will be taken. I mean, if you have a sentence, right, if you have a sentence, as it divides into group of lexemes, so something you can call them as lexicon. So you, that input along with the grammar, what happens is that syntax analysis phase means it checks the grammatical mistakes. Okay, that means it checks the syntax. Okay, you can say that whether whatever you have taken, it is grammatically correct or not. Simply in a simple sentence, what I can say is whether it is grammatically correct or not. If there is any issue is there, it rectifies it, or else if it is unable to do that, then it discards that. So it checks for whether it is grammatically correct or not. So that is the process of syntax analysis. So using that, what happens is it will going to give us parse trees, and here semantic analysis. So this is how syntax I said. So for example, here in syntactic analysis, what happens, this is the phase, right? Syntax analysis or syntactic analysis. So in this phase, what happens, I said you that it checks for the grammar. So whenever we have a words, I mean that is in the form of, whenever we have a sentence that is in the form of words, so that words are actually formed into structures. What other structures are? That is, you can say as parse trees. So for example, if you know, there is school went to Raju. Is it a correct sentence? No, not at all. So simply it rejects, because there is no proper syntactic, I mean it is not syntactically correct. So that's why syntactic analyzer will reject this sentence, because it is not forming a valid sentence. Okay, first thing is whether it checks for the grammatical mistakes or not. So that is how it means for. The next thing about semantic analysis. So this semantic analysis will be useful. I mean, it will checks the meaning of the sentence, whether it gives a proper meaning or not. Okay, so for that meaning, this meaning will be judged based on the semantic rules. So using the semantic rules, it will try to rectify whether the given sentence is giving proper meaning or not. Like here, it is something like I said you that example is there, hot ice cream is there. So hot ice cream, you are saying something which is not giving any proper meaning. That means it doesn't have any sense, right? So simply it rejects for that, because it is not giving any proper valid meaning for that. So that's why it is not, of course it can be a syntactically correct, but it doesn't mean that it should be semantically correct as well. So if there are any of these things are semantically incorrect, so simply it discards. Okay, so in that sense it performs. So what happens is simply that semantics, I said, it is concentrating on the meanings of the words or phrases or sentences. Okay, so what happens is that whatever you are getting the input from the previous phase, which is syntactic analyzer, it will try to rectify, it will give a proper valid meaning to that input. So that is how the semantic analysis phase actually performs. So with the help of whom it will judge whether the given sentence is giving, whether the given word is giving proper meaning or not. So this semantic rules are used to determine that. So that's why semantic rules are helpful for determining or to check the meaning of a given sentence. The next comes to pragmatic analysis. So before going to pragmatic analysis, we will be going to discourse integration. So it is something like whenever we have a context, okay, it will concentrate on the sense of the context. For example, the word there in the sentence, okay, he wants to go there. Now there means if directly if you speak to machine, he wants to go there. So first he has to think that who is he and where he wants to go there, which place. So that means directly machine can't understand. So before that there should be a sentence, okay, which is preceding to that sentence. By that it will give a proper meaning that okay, something, if the location specific name has been specified prior to this sentence, that means the machine can understand okay, he is that person, and he where he wants to go means he can understand okay, he wants to go through that place exactly. So that means directly if you say the sentence you cannot understand it. So that means the meaning of any single sentence it will not depends upon the sentence, okay, on the existing sentence sometimes. So it has to depend on the sentence which precedes it. Precedes means it takes before that. That means if we directly take the sentence called he wants to go there, so machine can't understand that. So there should be a sentence before that sentence that will make machines to know okay, where the person wants to go, okay, that means the location he can understand, the machine can understand that. So that's why this discourse integration, that means the input should not be in a way that that means it will not give a, it will not create a proper sense of the context. So for that purpose we have to give the input in a correct way. So that is how the discourse integration. The next comes to pragmatic analysis. So pragmatic analysis is something like one sentence is there, the one sentence can be assumed in different, can be interpreted, you can exactly use the words, can be interpreted in different ways. So based on the situation, based on the context, the sentences has to be interpreted differently. So that is how the pragmatic analysis. So the machine needs to understand on what contextual information, that means this contextual information will be as an input for determining the pragmatic analysis, so that the sentences what it has been given has been interpreted correctly. For example, here there is an example called close the window is there, okay, close the window. So for example, it should have to be interpreted as a request. Actually close the window means it should be like it can be assumed to be as a request and an order. So but what is that actually, based on the meaning, based on the contextual information, actually it should be interpreted as request rather than on order. But if sometimes machine understand then it's an order, then if the things will get changed here. So that is how the pragmatic analysis means for. So for that purpose what the contextual information is most important. So because that the focus of this phase is actually is if there is a need to reinterpret the sentence should be, or else the word should be get reinterpreted. Okay, for that purpose this pragmatic analysis is used for. The next comes to natural language generation. So that is about regarding completely natural language understanding. So by this this all this process helpful for a machine to understand what the natural language, what the input has been given by an user to machine. So next is about natural language generation. So this is the second part of the component of NLP. This part has to be done by machine. It has to give, you can say that it is a reverse process of NLU. Why? Because you are getting the input from the human and you are understanding by the help of NLU, and this NLG will be useful to give us the required input, required output. So this NLG actually contains many things, such as it contains discourse planner. Discourse planner means the machine needs to understand what the data has to be generated first. That means the goal has to be set, what will be generated, which sentences should the machine used. So all this will come under discourse planner. And the next thing is about surface realizer. So I mean, like whatever the sentence is there, the sentence realizes the sentence from its internal representation. So based on the representation of a sentences, the machine has to perform this process, which is called as surface realizer. And the lexical selection is something, the where words are best suited to give as a reply to a user. Okay, so the correct word, the exact words, not exactly, because it will be almost, it should be in a correct sense. So that correct words has to be get selected. Describing the concept, the describing concepts in the sense describing the reply to a human. So this is how about natural language generation. But why there is a term called NLP is difficult, because in NLP there will be lots of ambiguity will be there, lots of uncertainty will be there in the language. Okay, so like we will be discussing that how this ambiguity will make NLP will be difficult. So ambiguity is something like, if you have a word, if you can have multiple meanings for the given words, the machine has to select them correctly. So that ambiguity is not just on a single level, it will be in a lexical way. I mean, we will be having lexical ambiguity, syntactic ambiguity, and referential ambiguity. Okay, we'll be seeing with an example also. So lexical and ambiguity, what is this lexical ambiguity in the sense? So here ambiguity is in the presence of two or more possible meanings of the sentence within a single word. Okay, that means with using a single word, what happens, the complete sentences meaning get changed. For example, there is an example called Jack is looking for a match. Okay, so what happens is that the machine can think the given sentence in different forms, such as, for example, the word match. Because of this word, the complete sentences has been in an ambiguity manner. How? For example, if you take the word match refers to either Jack is looking for a partner, okay, to get married, or else Jack is looking for a match. This match can be cricket match or any other match. Okay, so in that also again there is like clarity is not there which match. If it is related with sports, then it is which match, cricket or any other match. So in that sense you can have multiple ambiguity. I mean, you can have multiple meanings for the given sentence. The sentence is one only, but machine can take in a different forms of meanings. So for that purpose, this is how it's very difficult to make machine to understand exactly on what basis this match has been used for, on what with reference to what conditions this match word has been taken for the given sentence, for the given person Jack. So that is one called as lexical ambiguity. So next is syntactic ambiguity. So syntactic ambiguity in the sense it exists in the presence of two or more possible meanings within the sentence. So now previously it was within for the given word. Just by using single word, the complete sentences has been changed in a way it gives multiple forms of possible meanings. But here what happens is complete sentence is responsible, okay, for giving the meaning in a multiple forms. I mean, giving multiple possible meanings. For example, here there is an example called I saw the boy with the binocular. So here what happens is that in this example what happens is it has mentioned in a way that it can interpret in two ways, like did I have the binoculars, or did the boy have the binoculars. So here there is no clarity who this either I myself contain this one, either the boy contain this one. So for that purpose, again, it has a multiple forms of meanings for the same sentence, but here the complete sentence is responsible for giving the multiple forms of possible meanings, whereas in the previous one only because of single word, that is match, that is giving completely different meaning. I mean, two or more, it can be more possible meanings. So this is about lexical, and the next is about syntactic ambiguity. Next comes to referential ambiguity. Referential ambiguity, what it means, that whenever you are referring to something using the pronoun, for example, John met Jack, he said I am hungry. Now what happens is that John is a person who has met Jack. In the above sentence, what happens, here we haven't specified who is hungry here. So here in the sense like either John or Jack. So in that sense, whenever you are referring one person and something, if you are using a pronoun, so here, I mean, we are not using actually exactly noun, so that if we have used noun, then there won't be any ambiguity. But because of using pronoun in some sentence, in some case, this problem will arises. So here the machine has to understand, it can think as a John or Jack. Okay, so based on that, this problem will come. So this is regarding referential ambiguity. So this is why the NLP is difficult. Okay, so we have taken ambiguity. Now let's comes to grammars and parsing. See, grammars and parsing, if you observe this here, the syntax analysis phase, and this, in that we'll be discussing this phase now. Now we will be discussing about the grammar, and we will be discussing the parsing process by which a parse tree can get generated. Okay, so that we will be discussing now. As part of your syllabus, we will be having grammars and parsers, I mean parsing process. So this is grammars is the what is the implementation aspect of syntactic analysis. Just now I said you, right? So here, in order to have the process of performing syntactic analysis to be well, we will be having different types of algorithms. Okay, something like they are working on context free grammar, okay, top down parser, bottom up parser. So as part of your grammar, we will be discussing CFG, which is context free grammar, and as part of parser, we will be discussing two types of parsers, which is top down parser and bottom up parser. Okay, so by that you can understand that what are this grammar actually mean for. Now the grammars and parsing, if you see in NLP, there are various kinds of notations that can be used. For example, here if I'm using a noun phrase which is NP, verb phrase which is VP, if I take a sentence, because it's a start symbol, okay, you can recollect the concept of ALC as well, because something, if you know the set of productions, right? So here actually here the production means each production, here is the grammar rule. Okay, so in that we are taking all of this kind of categories, like determiner, which is article. Okay, whenever I'm taking an article, so I can use this one for noun, and for transitive verb, intransitive verb, prepositions and prepositional phrase, adjectives, all of this will come under your syntactic categories. So here what we are doing is, first we will be understanding about context free grammar. What is this context free grammar? Context free grammar is like there will be a list of rules. A list of rules means a set of productions. Okay, you can get by a clarity, it's a set of production. Each production is actually a rule. So it's a list of rules, and each rule defines some well-formed sentences in a language. That means for example, if I take a group of productions, I mean if I take a group of rules, I can form a well-formed sentence in a language. So you can have left hand side as syntactic category. So this is your syntactic category, which is always in the left hand side. And what happens in the right hand side, you will be having you will be having the actual words of of the given sentence. So for example, here there is a rule called S of NP, okay, which S is refers for what? S is, I have said you, refers for sentence, and and NP refers for noun phrase. So here we taken one grammar rule, and according to this, this sentence is defined, like I'll be taking an example here. NP and VP is there. Okay, so this NP we have taken noun phrase and VP we have taken verb phrase. So here is what the grammar. Okay, so this is a set of grammar rules. What is this called as? Grammar rules. We usually call this as productions, and this is your grammar rules. So determine article, we have a and the okay, n represents for noun, and here it represents for transitive and intransitive verbs. So for example, we have a sentence called the giraffe dreams. Okay, so now how to, this is my input. Okay, this is my input, and with the help of this grammar, what I'm doing, I'm performing parsing process. What I'm doing is I'm performing parsing process. So parsing process is actually process of determining the structure of a text. Okay, so this is your syntactic structure of a text, which is you can call as parse tree, by analyzing its constituent words. So this constituent words on underlying grammar. So these stands for article, noun. So like that it will be. Okay, so in the sense we have to define, we can draw the parse tree as well. So here what we are doing is, in order to get this sentence, what we are taking is, first we are taking this grammar rule S, which is for NP and VP. And if I go for NP, I have this determiner and noun. So I'm taking this again, this two parts, fine. And if I go with VP, I can have this part, I mean this grammar rule. So you can say as grammar rule instead of production here, because we are specifying as the grammar rule here. So here I'm taking this part, and finally here n represents here first determiner. According to our sentence, it suits for this article, so we taken this one. And again for this n, which is our giraffe, we are taking here. And again what happens for this, we have taken dreams. So like that we have used parse trees to understand that how this parsing process actually works here. So that's why you can get this context free grammar. What is context free grammar? Yes, here always at the left hand side, what you will be having, you will be having syntactic categories, and the right hand side is a combination of syntactic categories as well as the actual input. Okay, so in this way the parsing process performs. So this is how something about what is a sentence refers to, what is a parse of the sentence refers to. That means how you generate a parse tree. For example, without taking parse tree, okay, without drawing the parse tree, if I want to take a parse of sentences, so this is something different. You can understand this parse of sentences. Something is like, if I want to take for this same example, how can you take without taking parse tree? Means you have to take this grammar rule. I mean, you can assume this as production rule. Okay, NP, VP, then N stands for determiner, noun, again VP. So again determiner, the, noun, this what is that? That means like the grammar rule again further divides here, and finally you will be getting as giraffe dreams. So like that the parts of the sentences will going to get derived, but we are not using parse trees here. So because of it finds it difficult to understand that how this process is performing, because if you observe this example and if you observe this example, which is this example, okay, so this is about the parse tree. So this, because of this parse tree, it finds easy to understand and it's a convenient way. So that's why we are using parse trees, because graphically it displays that how this parsing process actually performs for the given sentence. And the note, what we have to note is the root of the every subtree has a grammatical category. Okay, so here grammatical category is there. So here NP is there. So for NP we have this one again. For VP again we have this one. Okay, so like that it will be. So this is how a parsing process performs. Now we are going to see about top-down parser and bottom-up parser. Top-down parser, in the sense, simply I can say you that if I take this grammar, let us I take this grammar. What does this top down indicates means if I am starting with the start symbol. Now what is this? This is my start symbol. Okay, initially if I'm starting with this, and if I'm going to the leaf nodes, okay, which are my terminals, okay, what the terminals indicates the words. So if I'm going in this direction from top to start symbol to this bottom values, that means I'm performing the process called as top down parser. Okay, so in top down parser, the input will be start symbol and the output will be the words. Okay, and this words, combining of this words forms a sentence. Okay, so this is output and the input is your start symbol in top down parser. Whereas in bottom up parser, what happens? First it takes the input as this one. First it takes from down, it starts the giraffe dreams. So the giraffe dreams. Then again it is going in reduction way. Reduction means it is going from right hand side to left hand side. So the is which is at the right hand side here, and it is going to left hand side. So the first it determines here a determiner which is article. Then it takes for giraffe, again it takes for noun. So here again from right hand side it goes to noun. Again what happened, dreams, it goes for this one. So finally again going to that, and finally you will be reaching the start symbol S. If you reach start symbol S, it means that the bottom up parser process has been get completed. Okay, so for bottom up parser, the input will be the sentence. So this is your input for bottom up parser, and the output is this one, start symbol. Okay, this is your output for bottom up parser. It means simply you can say that it's a reverse process of top down parser. Okay, so like that this two parsers, these two kinds of parser will performs. So that only it means that, okay, with in top down parser and also in bottom up parsers. So in bottom up parser, what I said, finally it ends to start symbol. So in this way, this is how about parsers, grammars. Okay, so you can expect a question from in examination, in short answer question especially, they'll ask you regarding grammar, or they'll ask you about parsing process. So in that sense you can give any of this example or else any of the examples. Okay, so with this the NLP part has been completed. With this I wind up this today's session. Thank you.